It is 7:42 Saturday morning. You are standing beside a dark blue Honda with a cloudy headlight in a grocery store parking lot outside Columbus, Ohio. Coffee cools in a scratched steel mug. A $59 bag of groceries sits in the trunk. Your sweatshirt has a faint line of salt near the pocket. Nothing about the scene suggests wealth. Then your phone refreshes. Retirement accounts, brokerage account, cash, estimated home equity, $1,019,577. You lock the screen before anyone passes behind you. Not because the number is shameful. Not because you are afraid to spend. And not because you are pretending to be poor. The reason is quieter than that. It began 19 years earlier, with a raise you decided not to let anyone see. At 24, you work as an operations analyst for a regional packaging company. Your salary is $52,400 a year. It is more money than you have ever earned and somehow less money than adulthood appears to require. Your apartment costs $925 a month. The kitchen has one drawer that never closes. Your Honda is already 6 years old, but the loan is gone. On Sunday nights, you cook enough rice and chicken for 4 lunches and tell yourself the repetition is efficient, not depressing. The steel travel mug comes from the company welcome kit. By the 3rd week, it has a scratch along one side from rolling beneath the passenger seat. Marcus Reed starts 2 desks away from you. Same job grade. Similar salary. Completely different energy. Marcus knows the names of watches. He remembers which executives drive which cars. He can identify a promotion before the email announcement because someone suddenly replaces good shoes with expensive ones. He is not foolish. He is social, observant, and ambitious. He understands that offices run partly on numbers and partly on signals. 18 months later, both of you receive a promotion. Your salary rises by $6,800. Marcus arrives the following Monday in a silver German sedan with temporary plates. Half the office walks outside at lunch to see it. You understand the appeal. The car smells like stitched leather and a life that has moved forward. When Marcus hands you the key, the weight of it feels like evidence. That night, you build your own evidence. You open payroll and increase your retirement contribution. You set a transfer to a brokerage account for the morning after every paycheck. Then you write one rule on a yellow note and stick it inside the cabinet above the coffee machine. Keep half of every raise. Not half of every paycheck. Not a vow to reject every dinner, vacation, or comfortable chair. Half of every raise. The other half can improve your life. The first half must improve your position. Your combined automatic investing, your contribution, the employer match, and a small taxable transfer, begins near $700 a month. The exact investments are diversified funds available through accounts you understand. Nothing exotic. Nothing that produces a story at a party. The first transfer happens at 5:10 in the morning. You are asleep. By the time you wake up, the decision has already been made. This is the first part nobody says about looking average. Sometimes it is not a style. It is what remains visible after your best decisions happen somewhere no one can see. 5 years pass without a cinematic montage. There are spreadsheets, dental bills, 2 weddings, 1 security deposit you never fully recover, and a transmission repair that costs $1,460. The Honda survives. The travel mug loses its company logo in the dishwasher. Your investment balance moves in the wrong direction more than once. Some months, you contribute money and finish the month with less than you started. Compounding does not look like a staircase while you are living through it. It looks like a nervous line that keeps forgetting where the upper right corner is. But the system keeps purchasing shares. At the end of year 5, an illustrative model of your account, starting with $7,200, adding an average of $700 each month, and assuming a 7% annual return compounded monthly, lands near $60,322. Only $11,122 of that modeled balance comes from growth. The rest comes from the starting balance and contributions. It does not feel like wealth. It feels like a long series of decisions not to interrupt yourself. Marcus, meanwhile, looks successful because he is successful. He moves into sales, earns more, and learns how to turn a client dinner into a contract. His sedan becomes an SUV. His apartment becomes a downtown condo with windows facing the river. When the two of you meet for drinks, strangers can tell which one appears to be winning. You still carry the scratched mug into work. Your Honda still makes a soft clicking sound when the air conditioner starts. You have upgraded things, but mostly the things that touch your actual day: a mattress, better running shoes, one direct flight instead of a connection when you visit family. Then the first proof arrives in a form nobody applauds. The company announces a new stock purchase program. Marcus asks whether you are joining because the discount sounds good. You read the documents and decide you already depend on this company for your salary. You do not want too much of your financial life resting on the same building. So you decline and keep buying a broader basket instead. It is not a prediction. You have no secret view of the company. It is simply the first time you notice that money has changed your question. At 24, you ask, what can I buy? At 29, you ask, what do I already depend on? That is the shift from consumer to owner. Not a hatred of consumption. Not a belief that every coffee is a moral failure. It is the ability to see that every dollar can purchase an object, but it can also purchase a small claim on future output, or a small reduction in future obligation. The balance is still unimpressive from the outside. The architecture underneath it is not. Over the next decade, your quiet system develops 4 parts. The first is a floor. You decide what enough looks like before advertisers, co-workers, or a better quarter decide for you. Enough means a reliable car, a safe home, good food, healthcare, 2 trips most years, and room to help family without turning the gesture into a crisis. The floor can rise. It just cannot sprint after every paycheck. The second part is automatic escalation. Each time your income increases, half the raise disappears into ownership before it can become a subscription, a payment, or a new definition of normal. During the next 5 years, combined monthly investing averages about $1,400. During the 5 after that, it averages $2,400. In the final 4 years of this 19-year illustration, it reaches roughly $3,300 across your retirement plan, employer contributions, and taxable brokerage account. Those are not recommendations. They are the fictional result of a career that moves from $52,400 to the low 6 figures, a controlled housing cost, and a personal rule that survives several raises. The third part is broad ownership at a cost you can explain. You do not need the fund with the most dramatic 5-year chart. You need to understand what you own, how diversified it actually is, what it costs, and what risk arrives with it. Diversification can reduce the damage caused by one company failing, but it cannot prevent losses when markets fall. Index funds also carry risk, and low cost is not the same as no cost. So once a year, you read the fee disclosures. You check the actual holdings. You rebalance when your plan calls for it. Then you leave the machinery alone. The fourth part is discretion. You stop using purchases as financial press releases. This does not mean choosing the cheapest version of everything. It means the expensive version must solve a problem inside your life, not a problem inside someone else's opinion of you. You replace the apartment with a modest 3-bedroom house in 2014. The purchase price is $238,000. You put down 10%, keep an emergency reserve, and take a 30-year fixed mortgage in this fictional scenario. You choose the house because the commute is short, the street is quiet, and the payment leaves room for the system. The kitchen is not impressive. The morning is. There is no traffic before 7 o'clock. You drink from the same scratched mug at the small table while the automatic transfer confirmation appears on your phone. This is why some financially secure people look average on purpose. A visible lifestyle creates recurring expectations. A larger house is not purchased once, it is heated, insured, furnished, repaired, taxed, and mentally maintained. A luxury car is not only a price, it can become a standard the next car must meet. Status spending does not merely remove cash today. It can raise the cost of feeling normal tomorrow. The point is not that wealthy people all dress alike or drive old cars. They do not. The point is that people who value financial independence often protect the gap between what they can afford and what they require. Inside that gap, options begin to accumulate. Then the option gets tested. It happens on a Wednesday in March, 12 years after the first automatic transfer. At 9:16 a.m., an executive reads from a page and uses the phrase, operational realignment. By noon, 47 jobs are gone. Yours survives. Marcus's does not. He carries a cardboard box toward the elevator with a framed sales award resting on top. The office is quiet in the artificial way offices become quiet when everyone wants to appear busy enough to remain. You walk him to the parking garage. He presses the button on his SUV, but nothing happens. The battery in the key fob has died. For a second, neither of you speaks. Then Marcus laughs. Perfect timing, he says. He finds another sales role 11 weeks later. He is skilled, and skill matters. But those 11 weeks expose the difference between income and position. His condo, SUV, club membership, and private school deposit are not evidence that he made bad choices. They are evidence that a visible life can have a high monthly pulse. Your life has a lower pulse. You calculate that your cash reserve could cover about 8 months of core expenses without selling investments. If your job disappears, the Honda will still be in the driveway. The mortgage will still be due. Nothing about unemployment will feel pleasant. But you will have time. Time to reject the first offer. Time to change industries. Time to care for someone. Time is what the account balance has been buying while everyone else thought it was buying retirement. 2 months later, the Honda's transmission finally fails for good. The repair estimate is $4,900. The car is worth less than that. You stand beneath dealership lights and feel an old reflex wake up. You can afford the premium SUV near the entrance. The monthly payment fits. The salesperson's voice becomes warmer when you ask to sit inside. For 15 minutes, you imagine arriving in it. Then you ask a different question: what problem would this solve? You need reliability, comfortable seats, modern safety features, and enough cargo space for grocery bags and airport luggage. You do not need the vehicle to explain your net worth at a stoplight. You buy a 3-year-old sedan with cash from the car fund you have built separately. Dark blue again. Ordinary enough to become invisible in any parking lot. This is where the two versions of wealth separate. Visible wealth asks, what can this money prove? Quiet wealth asks, what can this money protect? Neither question is always wrong. Humans signal. Clothes, homes, and cars can carry beauty, identity, craft, culture, and genuine pleasure. But when every raise must become visible, success develops a maintenance cost. You are no longer using money to build the life. You are using the life to defend the image. Your system keeps running through good markets and bad ones. The account falls sharply more than once. The 7% rate in the illustration is a smoothed assumption, not the path you experience and not a promise. Real returns arrive unevenly, with fear attached. After 10 years, the same illustrative contribution schedule produces about $185,744. After 15, about $435,138. The increase between those milestones is larger not because you discover a secret asset, but because contributions rise, the existing balance has more time to work, and growth begins generating growth of its own. By year 19, total modeled investment contributions, including the initial $7,200, equal $435,600. Under the hypothetical 7% annual return, the investment accounts reach about $757,467. The market supplies roughly $321,867 of the ending balance in the model. But the number alone is not the payoff. The payoff arrives as a sentence you are finally able to say. You are 43 when the company offers you a regional director role. The raise is $31,000. The title would place you 2 levels below the chief operating officer. It also requires a move to Dallas, more flights, and an average of 3 nights away each week. 10 years earlier, you would have accepted before the meeting ended. The title would have felt like a verdict on every ordinary thing you owned. Now your father is 74. He lives 20 minutes from your house and has begun forgetting whether he has taken his medication. Nothing is catastrophic yet. That is what makes the choice difficult. You are deciding how present to be before an emergency makes the decision for you. You ask for 48 hours. For 2 days, you calculate more than salary. You count travel nights, missed appointments, and how many future decisions this raise would quietly make on your behalf. On Saturday morning, you drive to the grocery store. Your replacement sedan is now old enough to have a cloudy headlight. You buy oatmeal, oranges, coffee, and the soup your father likes. The total is $59. In the parking lot, you open the tracking sheet you update 4 times a year. The modeled investment balance is $757,467. Cash reserves are $54,000. Your home, bought for $238,000, is assigned an illustrative current value of $367,000. Under the fictional mortgage terms, the estimated remaining principal is about $158,889, leaving roughly $208,111 in home equity. Total estimated net worth, $1,019,577. It is not all spendable. The home equity is not cash. Retirement accounts may involve taxes, rules, or penalties when accessed. Markets can fall tomorrow. The estimate could move by tens of thousands without anything in your driveway changing. But your core annual spending is still close to $52,000. The cash reserve is real. The mortgage is manageable. The title is no longer allowed to negotiate on behalf of your fear. On Monday, you decline the promotion. You do not retire. You do not buy a cabin. You ask to remain in your current role with a more flexible schedule, and the company agrees because replacing your experience would be expensive. From the outside, it looks as if you lacked ambition. From the inside, it is the most expensive thing you have ever purchased without spending a dollar. You have purchased the right to keep an ordinary Tuesday. That evening, you take soup to your father. He complains that you bought the low-sodium version. You sit at his kitchen table and drink from the scratched steel mug while he tells the same story twice. The account balance remains on a server somewhere, invisible. The hour in front of you does not. There is a temptation to end the story here. Quiet wealth creates freedom, the old car wins, and everyone who bought something shiny learns a lesson. Real life is less obedient. 3 weeks after you decline the promotion, Marcus asks you to meet for coffee. He has heard about the offer and assumes you were afraid to take it. He tells you the role could have changed everything. You say, it would have changed the wrong things. He looks at your worn mug, then at the sedan outside. His expression shifts from confusion to concern. Are you okay financially? He asks. For 19 years, being underestimated has felt useful. Salespeople leave you alone. Friends do not compare balances. Family conversations rarely become negotiations. Your ordinary appearance filters out envy and noise. But it also filters out understanding. So you tell Marcus enough of the truth. Not every account number. Not a performance. Just the system, the approximate net worth, and the reason you could say no. He becomes still. Then he asks a question you did not expect. Why didn't you ever tell me? You remind him that you talked about retirement contributions, employer matches, and keeping fixed costs low. He shakes his head. That is not what he means. He means the night he admitted that 11 weeks without a paycheck terrified him. Every time he assumed you were running the same race, you let the assumption stand because correcting it felt like bragging. To you, privacy was respect. To him, it now feels like distance. This is the hidden cost of becoming financially invisible. If nobody can see the performance, they may not understand the choices. Restraint can look like fear. Contentment can look like stagnation. Declining a promotion can look like surrender. And the longer you let people build a story around your ordinary life, the harder it becomes to replace that story without making them question the relationship. There is another cost. Looking average can become its own performance. You can become proud of the old car in exactly the same way someone else becomes proud of the new one. You can turn frugality into a ranking system. You can judge a stranger's financed watch without knowing that he supports 3 relatives, survived an illness, or simply loves the object and planned for it. Quiet wealth is not morally superior wealth. It is only useful if the quiet serves freedom rather than ego. So you change one part of the system. You keep the accounts private, but you stop making the process mysterious. When a younger analyst asks how you decide whether to increase her retirement contribution or pay down a high-interest balance, you do not hand her a universal answer. You show her the questions. What does the debt cost? What match is available? How stable is the emergency fund? What risks can she actually tolerate? What fees sit inside the investment? When Marcus asks to see the spreadsheet, you remove the personal balances and give him the structure. Not because one spreadsheet repairs 19 years of different choices. It does not. Marcus has obligations, preferences, talents, and a tolerance for risk that are not yours. He may never want your version of average. But silence is no longer the price of discretion. That distinction matters. Secrecy says, you cannot know me. Privacy says, I choose what deserves protection. The wealthy people who deliberately look average are not all following one hidden rule. Some value security. Some dislike attention. Some grew up with instability and never learned to trust visible abundance. Some understand that recurring expenses can become golden handcuffs. Others simply do not care about status objects. And some are not wealthy at all. Appearances reveal almost nothing in either direction. That may be the most honest reason to stop performing wealth. The audience was never qualified to calculate your life from the costume. The next Saturday, you return to the same grocery store at almost the same time. The dark blue sedan is still ordinary. The $59 grocery run has become $62. The scratch on the steel mug catches a line of morning sun. Before you leave the parking lot, an automatic transfer confirmation appears on your phone. You do not open the investment app. You call your father and ask whether he needs anything. Then you send Marcus the blank spreadsheet you promised, with one sentence at the top. Build the gap before you display the result. For the next 7 days, notice one purchase you want someone else to notice. Do not reject it automatically. Just ask what job you are hiring it to do. If the answer is comfort, beauty, usefulness, or joy, the purchase may belong in your life. If the answer is proof, pause long enough to decide who the proof is for. Because wealth is not the car in the parking lot. It is not the hoodie, the house, or the number glowing on a screen. It is the distance between what the world expects you to chase and what you are finally free to choose. So if nobody could see what you bought next, what would you choose to build instead?